Thanks for tuning in to this week's edition of the Brett and Matt Show. As always, I'm Matt, he's Brett, and we didn't really have a lot to report on last week, and we kind of both got busy, so last week didn't end up happening. Not a ton to go over this week, but we have an interesting discussion topic worth mentioning. So on my way home one day, I kind of overheard a little bit of college football talk, specifically Big Ten talk, and they're kind of talking about just ranking the programs and where the Badgers might fit in the ranking. And some people like to think that Wisconsin is one of the top programs in the entire conference, while others find us probably more in the middle. So with that said, we'll kind of jump into it. This ranking that we're both putting the Big Ten teams in is based off future outlook. So both now and going to the future, how will the Big Ten programs look as if they were ranked in a tier from the top to bottom? So I don't know.
I think number one, both of us, is obvious, right? Tier one. For me, it's their own separate tier. I just have Ohio State as tier one, and they're the only team in tier one for me.
Yeah, I'm actually in the same boat. I put Ohio State in a tier all by themselves just because they're right now, I mean, obviously they won the national title. They're elite. However, I will say, because this is based off future outlook, I really think Michigan's going to be good. And obviously probably not this first year, but I think they'll compete a lot better than they did before in this first year. But in a couple of years, I think Michigan has a chance to be right there with them.
See, now because that's a much harder division, right? So
yes, that division is, looking at my tiers.
the East, it's almost kind of like the opposite, like NBA basketball. The West is hard here in the Big Ten. The East is
like
by far.
Baby.
The East is by far the best division out of the two. You're higher on Michigan than I am, for sure.
Yeah, buddy.
And I think when
Woohoo!
I used to like Michigan. You used to have a Michigan hat, didn't you? Though, put the M on it because classless. That's just classless. But who do you got? What's your tier two?
All right, so in tier two, obviously, since I just said how I, think at some point Michigan could be in that number one tier, they're in the number two tier. In that same tier, I also have Penn State, and I also have Michigan State. I guess the reason I put Michigan in that tier right now, and I'm trying to look at the program as a whole. So the two best recruiting teams in our conference are probably Michigan and Ohio State. Like, numerous 5-star recruits come in. I mean, it's not a big deal to them. So I just feel like, they have an advantage there, and they're able to get their programs reloaded really fast. And now they both have elite coaches. Penn State's definitely trending up. I think they have really good facilities. And then Michigan State, honestly, ever since who's their coach anyway? Is it
at Penn State?
No, at Michigan State. Sorry.
Oh yeah, D'Antoni. Yeah.
D'Antoni. Okay, so they got him. I mean, Michigan State, obviously, they have some of the lower academic restrictions for as far as admitting students, which actually helps them land people that are guys that Wisconsin and other schools have trouble landing. And the fact they've just been good for the last several years now. I feel like they deserve to be put in that tier two as well.
So my tier two, again, I don't know why. I just like one team tiers. Just Michigan State. I'm not as high. I'm not as high on Michigan as you are. And that's kind of a weird thing to say because, like you said, they have a great coach. Obviously, Harbaugh helped turn around Stanford, who he got them to their first bowl game in 8 years. When he was at Stanford, did really good in San Francisco for a few years before players got sick of him. Good thing about college is that your players rotate through 4 years at a time anyway. So I don't think his players are going to get too sick of him. Maybe administration though will at some point with Michigan. But yeah, Michigan State, I think they've earned that right to have passed by obviously teams like Wisconsin. who they've been very competitive with recently. But just where they've been, especially with their success in bowl games, I feel like they've won like 3 or 4 straight bowl games, which is something that obviously some of the other teams in the conference can't say. Wisconsin, hey, we did get a win though. We got this last win. Take that, Auburn. But yeah, I'm just going to put Michigan State in their own tier. I think currently for the next year, 2, maybe 3 years, they're the only team that will be really that competitive with probably Ohio State.
What?
Mm-hmm.
What? So let me get this straight. You think Michigan State is the only team that's going to be competitive with Ohio State?
Consistently. And will this year probably be the only team to have a legitimate shot at beating them.
You don't think come on.
Won't be Michigan.
What?
It won't be Penn State.
Sorry. You know what is that game being played in the Big House this year?
It doesn't matter where it's be playing.
Yes, it does. Are you serious? If Michigan loses every single other game and they win against Ohio State, that's all they care about.
Well, that's good. This sucks, though, for them because they're not winning that game. They're going to win some games I guess they don't care about, and they're for sure losing that one.
So my tier 3. So obviously our tiers are nowhere close to being the same as far as how we are grading teams. But my tier 3, I put the Badgers, Wisconsin Badgers. And then I also put Nebraska. Maybe I put Nebraska in there just based more off history, but and maybe that was a mistake looking at that now. But looking at our side of the conference, I think we're the best team by far. I just do. I don't think Minnesota's there yet. I don't think Iowa's there. Don't think Nebraska. Well, I guess I put Nebraska in our tier, but yeah, that's where I have my tier 3.
Tier 3, same as you. I got Wisconsin and Nebraska in there, and I also threw Michigan in there.
What? Where's Penn State?
Man, Penn State's trash. I don't like Franklin. I don't like that guy. He seems kind of sleazy. But so yeah, Michigan. I like Harbaugh better. Obviously, historically, I think it was a stronger program. Penn State obviously was really good for a while. But
you're really gonna put Wisconsin in the same tier as Michigan? Come on.
And here's the reason behind some of this too, right? So I have the top 2 teams being from the East. You can't have that many teams at the top within one division without them having to like rotate through, which would automatically knock them down a peg, right? I mean,
see, Brett, I'm just going off future outlook though.
Right, but their outlook, right? Okay, so let's say Penn State does get better. They still have to go against Ohio State, Michigan every single season. So you're going to have to count on them to have to win those games for them to be moved up. But then if they're winning those games, it's knocking those other teams down.
But their outlook as a program should be better than ours.
I don't think so. Because we'll almost always be competing for the West title and almost always with probably, for the most part, Nebraska, occasionally Minnesota or Iowa if they get their shit together, competing for the Western thing and getting into the Big Ten.
On consistency of being able to get to the championship game. The Big Ten championship game.
Sure, because that gives you a much better chance to be in a BCS bowl game. Penn State's probably at best the 4th best team, I think, in the East, which will be very difficult for them to have much consistent success, long term in the near future. Plus, like I said, I hate their coach. Look at that reaction. Look at him. Doesn't know what to say.
I cannot believe that Michigan's considered the same rated program as Wisconsin. That's baloney, in my opinion. There's no way. We're losing recruits left and right. Are you kidding me?
We've lost a couple. We've also gained some. We've lost a couple. We also gained some, Sure, Jordan Stevenson.
Gaining one guy for losing 5 is not a good ratio.
Okay, well, here's the deal, right? So obviously the last coach who I stuck up for.
Yeah, liked him. I didn't.
Had no fucking clue what he was doing when he was recruiting towards Wisconsin and what these kids needed to have accomplished to get in. I mean, he recruited 3 kids from one school in Texas. All 3 committed. None of those 3 got in, including Jordan Stevenson, and there were 2 corners as well that we had to cut loose. I mean, and that's a school and a school district that hasn't had a lot of success getting kids academically eligible to play college football. The other two ended up just going JUCO, and obviously Stevenson got admitted to Nebraska, which kind of sucks, them being an in-division rival.
We played them this year.
I play them every single year, so that will be fun for his whole career. It'll be interesting because I'm pretty sure he's got a W tattooed on his wrist, though, so we might have to get that covered up or change to a red N instead of a W. So I think, but I mean, for the past, I don't know, 10, 15 years, I mean, I would put Wisconsin has been ahead of Michigan for that amount of time. I mean,
since Lloyd Carr left, is that fair?
Definitely since Carr left, and probably for even some of that time during the last half of his career. We'd have at least been equals, I think. And then
Brett, we recently him Tebow's Florida team. Come on.
I think we were probably in a better bowl game that year, so it's kind of hard to say. I don't remember. Maybe we weren't. I don't remember. But and then obviously the last few years they've struggled. And then Harbaugh is there. Like I said, he's great. He's going to do good. It's just that's such a tough division. It's kind of hard. And I didn't want to put them in the same place as Michigan State because I just feel Michigan State has been and will continue to be at that top with their defensive coach. They got some swagger there. You know, their coach doesn't have a khaki deal. So that's got to be good looking on the recruits. So I don't know. That's just kind of where I have things. That you'll be happy because I have Penn State at the top of the next tier. All right, they're just edging there. Maybe they can knock Nebraska off, and they can flip flop soon. Be happy with that.
So let's see. In my next tier, I have. This is pretty much the tier of just teams. Actually, they all have in the other division. That I guess I just kind of feel meh about. They might challenge us for the division title. They definitely don't stand a chance in the other division, so they're not even close to that one. But so I put Iowa, Minnesota, who's actually a trending up program. But they just
Jerry Kill's a hell of a coach.
Yeah. So I need to see a little more out of them, and I feel really stupid for putting this team in here too. But I actually put Northwestern in this tier too. I don't know why. Maybe it's because they just always give us a tough time, and I'm biased about that. But I don't know. That's my tier 4 is Iowa, Minnesota, and Northwestern.
My tier 4, as I mentioned, Penn State at the top. I also have Minnesota and Iowa in there. I think Jerry Kill's done a really good job at Minnesota. Kirk Ferentz, he's getting paid a shit ton, and he's in tier 4, so that's kind of a bad investment on Iowa's part.
They need a new coach badly.
They can't, man. They got too much money invested.
Yeah, they have too much money invested in him.
And then I actually also put in there Maryland and Rutgers.
Huh?
Yeah.
They both suck.
I think one or both made a bowl game last year, which is more than the teams in this next tier can say. Well, I'm done after tier 5.
My last tier has Illinois, your alma mater in Indiana, Purdue, Rutgers, and Maryland.
See, I got Northwestern was tough for me because I don't feel like they belong with these other 3 teams. But I don't really know. It's just a really difficult place to win and to be consistently competitive at versus some of the other 2 schools. So I have them at the top of 5, edging on 4. And then Indiana, Illinois, and the worst team in the Big Ten is Purdue.
Purdue.
Not even close either. They friggin' suck. They're terrible.
They're bad.
It's kind of sad. What's actually kind of sad is that despite, at least per my rankings, is nobody was excited about Maryland and Rutgers being added to the conference from a football perspective. I still put them ahead of 4 different teams from the Big Ten, original Big Ten. So they've at least made the middle better. They certainly won't do anything at the top of the conference, but they've made the bottom half better, I guess. And Indiana, by the way, I firmly believe in my heart of hearts, had Nate Sudfeld not got hurt last year, they would have been a bowl game or in a bowl game.
Well, when you play 3 crappy non-conference teams, I would hope so.
What do you mean? They beat Missouri.
It's one team.
That's fine. That's all you got to do. You beat the SEC. Were they the East
SEC
champ?
Overrated, Brett.
Oh.
What do you want me to say? They're overrated.
That's it. That's good enough for me. Can I burn that shirt now that says the best is in the SEC or whatever?
Well, that was only a 1-year thing. It's because Ohio State got a cupcake schedule the whole way through.
And then they destroyed teams.
Yeah, because they were all rested and they had it easy peasy. They were beating up on each other every week.
That is the lamest excuse. There's a freaking there's a month to recover. There is a month to recover from the end of
That's not enough time.
Man, SEC teams, every single time that they lose, well, we play too many tough games.
They do.
You play an 8-game schedule and you have 2 FCS teams on there as well at the end of the season, which is practically a bye week. Your schedule sure is tough, but my God, you can't use that as an excuse. Because then what about the teams that are saying, wait, didn't you just say – wait, okay, so like in basketball, do you ever hear people say, oh, yeah, it's good to schedule difficult out-of-conference games because it helps you prepare for conference games? Right? So if you're just playing a tough conference game – I know you've heard it before. If you're just playing tough conference games all year, you should be prepared for the bowl game. I mean, you can't use that.
What if your guys are all beat up?
Please, they're not beat up. They're all juiced up. Have you seen those guys in their weight rooms and everything? Come on, Trent Richardson was all bulked up. Couldn't play for shit, but he was huge.
Ohio State won a national title because Urban Meyer brought some of that SEC swagger with him. That's why.
I mean, they probably would have been winning titles had Jim Tressel not done some things that got him fired.
What?
Ohio State's just always been that way. He has up the recruiting though. If you look at the recruiting numbers for Meyer versus
Florida
Tressel.
pipeline, yeah, Urban Meyer's a very good recruiter. I'm telling you, you have Michigan rated way too low. I am still upset about this. I'm telling you right now, they're going to be competitive this year.
Do you think right away?
Yes, right away. Bowl game, book it.
Well, yeah, I hope so. They should make a bowl game. That's not being competitive. You go 6-6 and make a bowl game.
I think they're gonna finish. They'll finish top 4. Top 4 in the conference.
In the whole
on
conference?
Their side.
On their side? Yeah. Okay. So you have Ohio State. You have Michigan State. Probably 1 and 2. They probably finished 3 or 4.
Probably.
It'll be close.
And I really, if I haven't looked it up, but if that game is in the Big House, you and me should have a bet on this. I'm gonna pick Michigan to win that game.
I don't know what the bet's gonna be, but you're gonna owe me something.
I don't think so, man. I think Harbaugh is gonna get his guys fired up for that one game. He knows firsthand how important that rivalry is.
He's a guy that also used to bash Michigan for a while, didn't he? When he was at Stanford,
well, he was just saying that because he was mad that they didn't hire him instead.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be fun. It'll be interesting. And I do think that for the most part, even though there's only 3 of those teams ranked, that with some of those hires, you should start seeing a lot more competitive at the top, especially in the Big Ten with Ohio State, Michigan State. I think Nebraska hired a good coach in Mike Riley. He's kind of older, though, already. But he's been a pretty decent and successful coach. He should be good for Nebraska, I think.
See, now my last closing thing about this little discussion is that Brett will be looking forward to seeing Wisconsin probably get thrashed by Ohio State in the championship game again.
I'm not going to that game if that happens. Not going to that again. I went there last year. Left after 3 quarters. Never done that in my life for any sporting event. Happened.
You were one of those guys.
I left. I was surrounded by Ohio State fans at the 50-yard line. We're out here. Kyle and I just got out of there.
Did they feel bad for you at some point?
I don't know. They're assholes. They're Ohio State fans. No, they're actually better than Michigan fans, from what I've heard. Which is weird because Michigan fans have had nothing to cheer about for a long time, and they're really quiet despite holding 100,000 fans in their stadium. It's a pretty quiet stadium.
Must be those acoustics.
I think it kind of is. It is built weird for 100,000 people. It doesn't hold the sound in very well.
But so on to a little NFL topic. So this week, Ray Rice was interviewed, kind of just pleading his case that an NFL team should give him another shot. So the question is, if you were an NFL GM, would you give Ray Rice another shot?
Can he still ball?
I don't know. I'm gonna assume that he kept himself in pretty good physical condition.
See, but players don't ever realize when they're done. Usually it comes down to somebody else saying, hey, you're done. You should probably retire because you just stopped getting phone calls.
Well, this is my opinion about the Ray Rice situation. So he obviously, was a pretty productive running back, I would say. I wouldn't put him in the same class as Adrian Peterson. I actually think what Adrian Peterson did was worse, and I still feel like I probably won't ever really cheer for that guy again. But nonetheless, I respect him as a football player. But as far as what he did, I think Peterson's was worse. At least Ray Rice struck a grown adult. Not that I'm saying it's right or wrong or any better, but I guess I did just say it was worse. But whatever, you get what I'm saying. But at the same time, I guess it's like the Cowboys taking a chance on Greg Hardy. Greg Hardy put up the kind of sack numbers that make you an elite pass rusher, right? And Adrian Peterson's an elite running back. So when you have that elite talent, I think teams are more willing to take a chance on you. Whereas when I would even go as far to say Ray Rice is above average, but especially at the running back position where, perfect example, I mean, granted the guy's hurt now, but Arian Foster, undrafted free agent, running backs, you can find, out of nowhere. So I feel like that's probably part of his issue is just the position he plays. I guess if I was a team like the Houston Texans, I would consider it. But the other thing I remember is bringing in a guy like him, you're going to obviously have to answer questions about stuff you probably don't want to, really have to deal with. And that's where it brings up the point, is it worth it?
That's obviously what you have to consider. One, can he still play? He is 28, so he's, I guess, by running back age, kind of already up there. Close. You might have 2 or 3 years left, which I guess if you're going to sign a guy would be enough time. I mean, get a 2 or 3 year deal. I'd say the easy question or easy way to answer that question of whatever questions fans might say is, hey, he's paid his time. Okay. His own wife didn't press charges against him, girlfriend at the time. He's been suspended for a year. He's paid his debts, right? Everybody, after they pay their debts, they should be able to be free to kind of do their thing. And for him, that's play football. And for us, it's win football games. And if you start playing well and we are winning, most of our fans, the people we actually give a shit about, probably aren't going to care too much. And
this is true.
But and he hasn't done reportedly any, he hadn't had ever trouble before that, hasn't had any trouble after that, I don't think. I mean, that was obviously huge, especially when you see the video, of him literally dragging his fiance out of an elevator because she's knocked out. Yeah, that leaves you. It's not obviously it makes you angry for sure. So, and I understand why teams would stay away. I'd say if he can still play, and that hurts me to say because but I'd say if he can still play and you think he's worth the investment, which obviously, since nobody's calling him, you could come up and say, hey, veteran minimum. I mean, there's almost no risk outside of whatever people are going to get upset about. But from a monetary standpoint, there's probably much more to be gained from a player like Ray Rice, who, like you said, was an above average player. And, he used to produce, with the exception of that last year, I think in Baltimore, the offensive line was kind of shady though that year, and he didn't have a lot of room to run. So
probably started with the right tackle.
No, see, that was the year after when the right tackle was the Wisconsin player, and they started having Justin Forsett go off for huge games. All right, so the right tackle is not the problem there. Actually, it probably was the right tackle if it was Michael Orr. That guy's trash. But yeah, I don't like saying that he deserves a chance, but he does. I think he does deserve the chance.
You know what, Brett? We're just gonna nickname you Jerry Jones. How's that sound?
But Jerry hasn't even
Let's
called.
do second chance over here. Yeah, you know what? McFadden got hurt. It's on a little list of things to talk about here. Maybe they should sign him.
Maybe they probably have a better running back in Joseph anyway. Is that
Joseph Randall?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I guess, I mean, I don't disagree with you. I mean, if a team were to sign him, I wouldn't necessarily question it. I mean, it would make sense to me. At the same time, I don't blame any team for not wanting to sign him either. I mean, he has a right to work in the NFL, but I mean, no one has to sign him if they don't want to.
Right. Yep. And that's obviously by team. You just have to judge if it's worth it. It's going to be a low monetary risk for sure.
Right.
But is it worth, perhaps upsetting your fan base and all the other shit that's the shitstorm that it's definitely going to ensue if you sign him? You're going to have way more media covering your games, asking sorts of questions, fans maybe boycotting. Who knows? Of course, there were fans after that video that were wearing his jersey at games still. I mean, so it's, I don't know. Some people are just like, whatever. He's paid his dues. He should play. And some people would get upset. And you just have to kind of balance that out. And if you view it's worth it, sign him. If not, maybe not. And hey, maybe none of it, maybe that's all pointless. Maybe he can't play anymore. Maybe a team gives him a tryout and they're like, you know what? Never mind. You're not worth any sort of risk. and that's that. Nothing to talk about at that point.
Yeah. So with that said, some other camp-worthy notes since we are getting into camp now. Some injuries obviously are kind of happening now. Actually today, Deshaun Jackson, after just a couple days ago, calling out saying that, Richard Sherman can't cover him, Darrelle Revis can't stop him. He gets hurt and separates his shoulder hitting a dummy.
I don't even know how that happens. I want to see video of that.
I'm not quite sure either. So interesting that right after saying that happens. Kind of a bigger injury, or I guess this is more possibly long term for the decent portion of the season would be Arian Foster has a groin injury, might have to have surgery. What do they say? It could be out for several weeks.
Yeah, and the groin is something that can kind of linger too. Like we both have had groin-ish injuries, and if you not even surgery, right? But if he has surgery, like that recovery time, plus you're a little more susceptible. So you always got to be careful with. I think the groin and the hamstring are like probably the two injuries that can hamper you the longest if you rush back.
And they seem to happen, these times of year when athletes, are coming back into camp, probably go a little too hard, and they didn't train right, possibly, in the off season. But you mentioned we'd both kind of had some of those injuries. I had a groin injury one year in my football career, and I can tell you it sucks. Like you can't plant, you can't cut, and when you play a skill position, especially running back or receiver, like I did, that takes away a lot of your ability to do much of anything.
Definitely, and. I mean, it sucks too because obviously Foster, he's always fun to watch. He's so smooth. I just like watching his running style. And for him to be out, they'll have to rely on probably Alfred Blue, who was also an injury scare the other day, but apparently it was something minor. And so he should be good to go through the rest of camp. Didn't they bring in they did. They brought in Peter Thomas and they didn't sign him.
Nope,
thought there would be a deal there, but it never happened. But maybe now with the injury, Pierre Thomas calls him back up and says, "Oh, hey guys, you still thinking about that deal, that money that I was asking for? Do you think maybe you got some room for it?" Maybe they just feel really confident in Alfred Blue, though. I don't know any other running backs on that team, though. Deion Foster?
Yeah, I don't either. Kiko Alonso was diagnosed with a concussion, so the prized linebacker that Chip Kelly, acquired. Out with a concussion. Concussions are never a good thing, especially in today's league and all the knowledge of brain damage and stuff that can happen. They're just not good to ever sustain. So that's no good for them. Michael Floyd from the Arizona Cardinals broke or dislocated 3 fingers. So he's gonna be out for a few weeks.
That hurts, by the way, obviously. But do you remember? Oh man, there was an English teacher, black guy that we had in middle school. Mr. Tiemann came in and taught for him or took over for him for a while, I think. Do you remember that at all?
Nope.
Maybe you were in the other block.
Could have been.
Anyway, he used to play sports back in the day. All his fingers are like all sorts of like janky and shit. Like, so I feel like Floyd's fingers in his career when he's done are all going to be sorts of kind of weird looking sort of stuff. It's not pretty. It lasts forever. Or this finger.
Yeah.
It's broken. What? It's a real story.
You ever seen Brian Baldinger on NFL Network?
Oh, yeah, gross. This Kyle's finger. Even Kyle's finger.
Gross.
We should put up a picture of Kyle's finger so everyone can see that.
On a positive note, so Eric Berry has been cleared for being cancer-free, and so that's good. And your head coach down in Indianapolis was wearing a Berry Strong shirt, kind of representing, trying to, spread the word about, that cancer, being able to beat cancer is definitely a good thing. And so there's a little tidbit of good news.
It's good. And he's a hell of a player too. So, I mean, obviously his life comes way before any sort of football thing. But it would be nice to see him back out on the football field as well. Matt's like, nah, football's first. But it's definitely great to see people battle through that. I mean, you get that story and you get Devin Still's daughter, kind of getting through cancer and everything too. So it's good to see a lot of these stories coming out right now with the football. People overcoming some pretty adverse situations and come through. Like you said, and Chuck Strong was the thing for the Colts. Now we had Barry Strong. So it's just cool to see.
Yeah, and so the last thing for NFL stuff, back, probably should have said this before, but injury-wise, McFadden for the Cowboys, running back that was signed, has already pulled a hammy, so he's going to be resting up a little bit. I guess one talking point for that being last is that so we're going to go through the next several weeks. We're going to go through probably 2 divisions a show. We're going to pick the division, just kind of give a little division outlook on the whole division as a whole. Maybe talk about what teams are stand out here or there or something. But as far as the Cowboys go, and this kind of hit me, like they didn't really address the running back need. Obviously they thought they could fill it with McFadden, but he's already showing he might not be durable, which is a big question mark. So I guess the one thing that would worry me if I was a Cowboys fan is that I know they have a great offensive line, but you just wonder if Murray really was a special back or, an above average back at the least. And if the running game isn't as good as it was last year and there is more pressure on Tony Romo, does he resort back to doing the things that Tony Romo was known for doing before?
Probably. I don't think there's any doubt that
you know what I mean?
That he had his
best season. Coordinator, they get away from running the football a little bit and more passing because we can't run the football. We ran it 5 times. We're not getting anywhere. Let's just throw the ball the rest of the game.
Well, that's kind of almost what they seem to do sometimes 2 years ago before they just really set on running the ball this last season. But yeah, Romo's best season obviously came when they also happened to have had their best running season. And I think there's a direct correlation there is that he was as good as he was because he didn't have to be relied on to have to make the big play all the time. They could hand it off. They were going to be successful, control the clock a little bit that way, control the game, get first downs. And then obviously you got players like Des Bryant who kind of alleviates some of that pressure as well from having to be the playmaker. You just kind of have to put it up there, let him go get it. So if they don't feel confident in the running game, I also 100% believe that Tony Romo, despite having just had his best season, probably will definitely regress quite a bit after that. Kind of sucks, but we'll talk about that probably when we get to the NFC East.
Definitely. So with that said, go ahead.
I just want to say, go Ronda Rousey. Love that lady. It's going to end the show with Ronda Rousey.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You and me are in agreement. She's awesome. There's no other way to say it. She's awesome. She might be I haven't watched a lot of fighting lately, but man, she is I'm more entertained watching her than I am watching the guys fight.
Yeah, well, I feel like a lot of the
My favorite
heavyweight
guys are in
fights,
trouble or something
they're
stupid.
they're in trouble. They're retired from the time that we used to watch all the time.
One of my favorite is busy, in a crack rehab center or something. So that's cool.
Who, John?
Yeah.
Johnny Bones Jones?
Yeah, that guy was awesome. And
Yeah,
he apparently got some other issues.
But yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there because I don't know, it was fun. Like she's the most dominant, I think, fighter right now, and
definitely, no question.
You know, even I stayed up to watch that, and I fell asleep for a second on the couch, and I woke up and it was done, and I was like, wait, what happened? And somebody could literally post like a Vine on my wall of how she just literally knocked a girl out. I think that's kind of cool. Not that knocking girls out now, so I'm like, not that knocking girls out is cool, guys. It's just, it was fun. It was entertaining for sure. Plus the way that she did it, right? And to who she did it to, because that girl talks so much smack to her beforehand.
Yeah.
And
smack talking before that.
Mentioning suicide was definitely a low blow, since obviously her dad committed suicide when she was a kid. So at some of the point in that smack talk, she mentioned that. So it's just nice to see her just knock her out and make her be quiet.
I couldn't agree more. It was, yeah, definitely.
But yep. So I think other than that, I got that out of the way, off my chest. Anything else, or we're probably just gonna call it?
No, I think that's good. So next week we'll start. I don't know what division we're gonna do yet, or which two divisions we're gonna do, but we'll go over a little bit of a team division preview, I guess you'll say. And then at the end of these next 4 weeks, we'll be making. We'll actually pick our division winners and our 2 wild card teams.
Oh, and we also have to do our fantasy show at some point too.
Oh yeah, we're running out of time.
We'll figure that out. Well, maybe we'll just do a fantasy special on like a weekend.
I might have to do that because I don't know. I know I'm in 3 fantasy leagues right now, maybe 4 if we get our friends league going again. Yeah. So I had some work to do.
It sounds good.
I've won one of my leagues the last 3 years. I do not plan on losing that again.
Oh, by the way, that one on ESPN, I think you can just go in and reactivate it.
I'm not. Did I set that up? Am I setting up the league?
You set it up last year.
I set it up. Oh, we're using Yahoo. We're not using ESPN's garbage. Yahoo is so much easier. I don't know what is wrong with all of you thinking ESPN.
We tried Yahoo. Remember, Cortland didn't sign up in time, so we had to find something new.
Cortland, if you are one of the 5 people that watch this, when I send you an email, sign up this time. Or give me your email, I'll sign up for you. I'm also going to draft your team.
Sounds good. Yeah, we'll just draft him a trash team.
Kicker's looking pretty darn good. Your first round pick, man.
J.J. Watt, just like J.J. Watt in the league did.
Hey, you know what? In one of my leagues, we draft IDPs. So we draft defensive players like that one year you and me did. I'm going to be really tempted to take J.J. Watt way too high.
Dude, if he's playing offense, do you score his touchdowns too?
I know. That's extra points, man.
That's a good look.
It is.
I'd probably draft him way high too. Anyway, we'll cover that on a different show. But until next week, it'll probably be Monday or Thursday because I again have to close Tuesday and Wednesday. So we'll figure it out one of those days. But we'll see you guys then.